said, hello. So I'm doing good afternoon. How are you? Great honor to be said. Alan, Dan, all my friends here. Great honor. I understand I just followed up Senator Joe Lieberman. Tough act to follow. A great friend who's leaving in November. I always say to Joe that some people are indispensable, and then there are people who are irreplaceable. And Joe Lieberman falls under the latter category. An immense friend to Israel, to the Jewish people worldwide. I want to begin today by quoting from that immortal American Jewish writer, Charles Dickens. It wasn't? You all know the line. It was the worst of times was the best of times. And I think that line sums up where the state of Israel is today. It is the worst of times and the best of times. I'll tell you, as someone who comes from the history field, rarely in Israel's 64-year history have we faced such a vast array and magnitude of threats at the same time. It is a period which at best reminds me of the period of May 1957 before the Six-Day War. At worst, it's the period of May 1948. That kind of magnitude, that type of threats are facing us all at once. You may have noticed now for well over the last year and a half, the world has been in turmoil. All of our understanding of the way the Middle East worked 2 or 3 years ago, all of those understandings had to be put aside, and we had to begin to revise them. We had to face threats now from Sinai, an area we evacuated at the beginning of the 80s in return for peace with Egypt, and in which we had our longest peace border, our longest open border. And Sinai has become a source of acute concern for the state of Israel. In the ensuing disorder in Sinai, terrorists have taken root. Terrorists from around the Arab and the Muslim world, representing world jihad, an entire spectrum of terrorist organizations, not just Islamic Jihad, not just Hamas, not just Hezbollah. And they have fired missiles at Eilat. They have fired missiles at our southern army bases. They have 3 times over the last year tried to cross that border. And in the attacks that they mounted, they killed 9 Israeli citizens so far. And we are viewing this as a situation of grave concern for the state of Israel. We look at the situation up north with Syria, with the deepening and just heinous civil war going on there, with the regime of Bashar al-Assad massacring the people of Syria. And frankly, we have to express a tremendous amount of respect for those people who are risking their lives in order to bring down that egregious regime. Our major concern in Syria is the fate of the weapons of unconventional weaponry in Syria's arsenal, of which there is an immense amount, and it is widespread. And were those weapons to fall into the wrong hands, as weapons in Libya fell into the wrong hands, remember those shoulder-fired missiles? That would be a game changer for the state of Israel, and by wrong hands we would mean Hezbollah's hands. Hezbollah already has 60,000 rockets pointed at our homes and neighborhoods. That's 4 times the amount they had during the Second Lebanon War in 2006. Many of them are situated in fortified villages underground. Some of these rockets are actually positioned in households. Because Hezbollah wants us to strike back and kill the people in those households and be blamed by the international community. So we're facing those rockets as well. In the Gaza Strip, 10,000 rockets in the hands of Hamas, perhaps 5,000 or more in the hands of Islamic Jihad. In those arsenals are Fajr 5 rockets that can hit downtown Tel Aviv. And the terrorists know that if they shoot rockets at us, the chances we could be dragged into a ground war in Gaza, similar to the ground war in Gaza in 2008, and that could have profoundly destabilizing ramifications for our relationships with other states throughout the Middle East. Our relationship with Turkey, which used to be one of the strongest strategic alliances we had in our entire region, with the emergence of a new government in Turkey, one that was more oriented toward its Islamic roots, back toward the Middle East, away from Europe, beginning in 2002, and reaching sort of an unfortunate climax in the flotilla incident of 2010. We also have concerns with that relationship. We accepted international UN arbitration for the flotilla incident in 2010, something we probably have had our heads examined. What Jewish state would submit its fate to UN arbitration? We did it, and then a miracle occurs. The UN actually found in our favor. Found that Israel's maritime blockade of the Gaza Strip was legal under international law, that Israel had a right to defend itself from radical Islamic activists who had aborted one of the boats in that flotilla with the assistance of the Turkish government. That UN asked us to express regret for the loss of Turkish life in that incident, to offer compensation to the families. We did all that. The Turks turned us down. And since then, we have made very serious efforts to try to rectify our relationship with the Turks. So far, no progress there to report. With Iran, the greatest threat looming over our horizon. Truly a threat of monumental proportions, monumental generation performance. Understand that a nuclear-armed Iran is not only the threat that the Iranians will develop a nuclear device, and now we feel that they have enough enriched uranium to fill up nearly 5 nuclear devices. Not only that they will rush ahead and put this enriched uranium into a warhead, stick it on one of the missiles which we know that can carry those warheads and target any city in the state of Israel, target any city in the Middle East, and many cities in Europe as well. We're a very small country with most of our population centered around the greater Tel Aviv area. That's only the beginning of the existential threat. We know that the minute Iran gets nuclear military capabilities, then terrorists have access to those capabilities. We may even know when we're being hit. The nuclear bomb may not come on the top of a missile. The nuclear bomb could be delivered in a shipping container, or in a large suitcase, or in a truck. Once Iran gets a bomb, then we know that other Middle Eastern states are going to rush to acquire nuclear weaponry, and the entire Middle East is going to be transformed into a nuclear tinderbox. Imagine what's happening in the Middle East right now, and we worry about chemical weapons in Syria. Why don't we have to worry about what's going on in the Middle East now when everybody has nuclear weapons? It's a profound threat not only to Israel, but to the entire world, to the United States as well. And if Iran gets nuclear military capabilities, our ability to even respond to Hezbollah, or to Hamas, or Islamic Jihad will be greatly impaired. They shoot at us. We want to defend ourselves. And we have to take into consideration whether Iran is going to sneak out or break out and create a nuclear weapon, or if it already has a nuclear weapon, whether it's going to use that nuclear weapon against us. So Iran, on the path to nuclear military capabilities, presents not one, but an assortment of existential threats to the Jewish state. May 1967, May 1948, now all at once. Now the state of Israel is rising up to all of these challenges. In the south, we are cooperating, communicating better with the Egyptian government. We are assiduously building a fence along that formerly open border. That border will be closed, pretty much closed about the end of this year, the end of 2012, at immense expense, by the way, that hadn't been budgeted before. And the greatest game changer on our side has been the deployment of the Iron Dome anti-ballistic system, of which there are several batteries in the south now, guarding our 3 major cities, Ashkelon, Beersheba, and Ashdod. And the Iron Dome system is the first anti-ballistic system in military history to prove effective in combat and actually takes down incoming rockets. No other anti-ballistic system in history has ever done this. It's literally rocket science, getting one bullet to hit another bullet in mid-air. And we've got about an 85% success rate. One of our batteries in a recent exchange got 100%. So we know that Iron Dome can, in theory, reach 100%. We want to get all of our batteries up to 100%. Now, this is no guarantee. Every time they shoot at us, 1.5 million Israelis still have to go down into bomb shelters. You can't take that, can't take the chance that they're going to get through. But it is a major, major contribution to our ability to defend ourselves against the tens of thousands of rockets that are arrayed along our borders. In the Syrian situation, we look forward to the fall of the Bashar al-Assad regime. Yes, we know there'll be dangers, that there'll be radical Sunni elements that could take over in Syria in the place of Bashar al-Assad, but we view him as so irresponsible. His father, some of us old enough remember Hafiz al-Assad. Yeah. He was ruthless. but he was in some way responsible. His son is ruthless and irresponsible. And not only did he give these tens of thousands of rockets to Hezbollah and Hamas along with the Iranians, but he tried to create a secret military nuclear facility, which was neutralized by military means, fortunately. Imagine if it hadn't been today, where they'd been. And we think that his departure will deal a very strong, very serious blow to Iran and its connection with Hezbollah in Lebanon. So we'd like to see his departure. We actually see what's happening in Syria with all the suffering going on, that we see there an opportunity for an improvement in our regional situation. With the Turks, as I mentioned, we're still striving to reach some type of accommodation with them. We hope for some, some type of movement there. Certainly, we have a confluence of interest with the Turks in better coping with the situation in Syria. With the Palestinians, I left this for last. Unfortunately, I leave it for last. It used to be first, but now it's last. We've still been waiting for the Palestinians to rejoin us at the negotiating table. We are offering them what's called CBMs, confidence-building measures, some of them quite substantive. They could involve hundreds of millions of dollars in benefits for the Palestinian Authority. But the Palestinian leadership is divided amongst itself, between Mahmoud Abbas, Salam Fayyad, also between the Palestinian Authority and Hamas. The world has changed around them. They do not feel that they can join us at the negotiating tables now, unfortunately, and they are taking two alternative paths, which are extremely destructive. One is seeking rapprochement with Hamas, which rejects the quartet's conditions for rejoining the peace process, that is recognizing Israel, eschewing terror, and accepting all previous agreements between Israel and the Palestinian Authority. And the Palestinian Authority, as of yesterday, has announced that it intends to seek unilaterally declared independence at the UN later on this month, which means that they will try to get international recognition for a Palestinian state, getting the territory without the peace, and will create a situation where, state of Israel, we have a lot of arrangements with the Palestinian Authority. We don't have a single agreement with the state of Palestine. By the way, neither does the United States. The United States is a co-signatory on the 1993 Oslo Accords, which says that there is no alternative to direct talks. There is no unilateralism. So it would be a complete disaster for the Palestinians if they go ahead and do this. We're still there. We're still waiting for them. Our position today is virtually identical to that of the Obama administration. We call for direct negotiations without preconditions on all the core issues: borders, security, Jerusalem, refugees, leading to a two-state solution. Palestinian state, which is the nation state of the Palestinian people living side by side with Israel, which is the nation state of the Jewish people, in a situation of mutual recognition, security, and peace. All of these challenges, all of these dangers facing Israel at the same time, rarely have we ever seen anything like it in our history. And yet, now hold on to your tables, here comes the best of times. I will say, unequivocally, that in many ways Israel is in a better geostrategic political situation today than it has ever been since 1948. Looking around the room, I can see some of you are more or less my generation. And we can remember a time when the thought of peace between Egypt and Israel, or Jordan and Israel, was absolutely unthinkable. It was beyond the ken. There was a time when the thought that Israel would not only have peace, but have excellent relations with the countries which were once part of the Soviet bloc. 13 countries, which were every bit as anti-Israel as some of our Arab neighbors. The thought that we would have excellent relations with a place called Poland, or the Czech Republic, or Bulgaria, was also completely beyond our imagination. That the president of Russia would pay a state visit to the state of Israel happened a couple months ago. Unthinkable. That we would have superb relationship with India. I remember the time when the Indians wouldn't let our Davis Cup team play there. They wouldn't let our chess team play there. Remember that? Today, 20 years now, we've had a relationship with India, and it's one of the most swiftly burgeoning commercial relationships we have with any country in the world. China, 20 years. We're now celebrating our 20th anniversary of relations with China. Trade with China and Israel goes up about 30-35% every single year. I have a son who speaks Chinese, working for an Israeli-American corporation living in Shanghai. and tells me the Chinese love Israel. It's great to know. But it really would have been unthinkable. Back in 1967, not ancient history, there was no strategic relationship between Israel and the United States of America. Israel fought that war with French arms, didn't get a single American bullet. Today, America and Israel have one of, if not the most multifaceted and deepest strategic alliance with any country in the world. I just came back from Israel a couple weeks ago, accompanying a very high-ranking official in Congress dealing with intelligence issue. At every single meeting we held, he said the following. He said, I know of America's intelligence relations with all other countries in the world. Nothing comes close to the U.S.-Israel intelligence relationship. And that's just in intelligence. That's not in training, that's in weapons development. An intensely close relationship. And cooperation in which we see eye to eye on the vast majority of issues around the region, whether it be in the turmoil going on in the Arab world, the threat of unconventional weaponry, and the fact that Iran poses an existential threat to the state of Israel. President Obama last year got up in front of 13,000 people at the AIPAC conference and said that he recognizes that Israel has a right to defend itself against any Middle Eastern threat or any combination of Middle Eastern threats, and only Israel, as a sovereign country, can best decide how to defend its citizens. Period. With all that, Israel today is unrecognizable. I moved to that country 35 years ago, and country that was a poor little socialist country back then. Today, Israel is a powerhouse. It's an economic powerhouse. It's a high-tech powerhouse with more technological patents, more scientific papers, more Nobel Prizes per capita than any country in the world. We're recently listed the 6th healthiest country in the world. I love statistics like this. Okay, 6th healthiest country in the world, the 2nd most educated country in the world per capita after Canada. One of the happiest countries in the world, which I really find funny because you talk to Israelis, they complain 24 hours a day. We're not happy. Even our kids are happy, it turns out, according to the statistics. Our economy has weathered the world recession, not bad at all, one of the lowest unemployment rates in our history. We are continuing to export jobs. Just this morning I cut a ribbon here in, we're in Virginia now, aren't we? Not here, I was in Maryland, another state, with the governor and the senators and some congress people there cutting a ribbon for a new factory there by Elta, the radar company that actually makes the radar for Iron Dome. That's creating high-paying jobs for Maryland, one of 20 companies, plants that Israel operates just in the state of Maryland, here in Virginia. You get your hummus from here. This is where Strauss Sabra hummus is made in Virginia. At a time when America is outsourcing jobs to Asia, Israel's outsourcing jobs to the United States. It's a huge source of U.S.-Israel support today. Israel is America's 20th largest customer in the world, outpacing Argentina, Russia, Spain, Ireland. Unthinkable, again, unthinkable 20, 30 years ago that Israel would be a commercial interest for the state of Israel. Unthinkable. All of that, folks, and we are exporting wine to France. We are exporting caviar to Russia. We're actually exporting snowmaking machines for the Russian Winter Olympics. And we're having the greatest tourist season in Israel's history. Now, last year was Israel's greatest tourist year. This year we've exceeded about 27%. Go get a place on a plane to Israel, go get a hotel there. Really off the charts, our tourism. The best of times, the worst of times. And what I can say, what links them both to this organization, to B'nai B'rith, is that whether it's been in the worst of times, whether in the best of times, you've always been there with us. Whether here in the United States or in B'nai B'rith chapters around the world, you've been with us. You've been with us to stand with us in times of danger, of challenge and stress. You've been there to celebrate with us our extraordinary achievements as a state that started with nothing, really. No natural resources. Look where we are now. And I think we can all know it, and whether in the worst of times or the best of times. And hoping for better times in the future, and with the full assurance, with the full confidence that Israel and B'nai B'rith will always be together. And I'll end by saying, Shana Tova, all of you, all of your families, on behalf of the government, the state and the people of Israel, to the Jewish people and members of Beit Brith throughout the world. Amen. Not the Before I have a question, I don't come here alone, and I come to you produced by an extraordinary staff of young people. They're all young, actually annoyingly young. Just want to introduce some people who are here with me. Noam Katz, our just down in the back, our counselor, and Miriam Katz, no relation. Young American. You here? There's Lee Moser, the head of my office there. Yes. Please, question is.
The amendment has graciously allowed us to have some questions. I'm going to ask you to, some of you who like to ask questions along with comments, say your comments to dazzle your dinner guests tonight. Please keep your questions short and to the point so that more of you will have the opportunity to ask your question of Ambassador Michael Oren. Bruce, you'd like to go first.
Thank you.
Oh, well, I just thought you got Jonathan Sarna here tonight. Wow, big Jonathan Sarna fan. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Fabulous presentation. Recent rumors in the newspapers in Washington about shouting matches with Dan Shapiro in Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, whether it happened or didn't happen. My question is very simple. Is there a gap between the thinking of the United States and Israel? And what can you comment on if there's a gap, how do we get closer?
First of all, as to the rumors, I don't want to ruin anybody's day, but brace yourself. Not everything you read in the papers is true. I was at that meeting, and it was a candid and substantive and respectful meeting, as is the custom between two friends. That's the way we talk to one another. And I've been in many meetings like that. And my esteemed colleague, Dan Shapiro, is also my friend, no shouting. And he represented the Obama administration position. I think he represented very ably, and the Prime Minister put forth our position very frankly. And there is a structural difference between the United States and Israel on the Iranian issue. And it's very simple. Israel is a small country located in the backyard of Iran. It is threatened daily with annihilation. Daily. Almost a day doesn't go by without some Iranian leader saying they're going to come out and destroy us, or obliterate us, or wipe us off the map. And we have certain capabilities. Again, I don't want to ruin anybody's days, but we don't have aircraft carriers, for example. One of the few things we don't have. Great army, the idea. No aircraft carriers. The United States, by contrast, is a big country. It's located far from the Middle East. It is not threatened with national annihilation, not yet, by the Iranians, and it has vastly greater capabilities. Therefore, not only do we say, but the United States said, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dempsey, said, our clocks run at different speeds. And they do run at different speeds, because the Iranian nuclear program is moving in different directions. We know it's accelerating. It's accelerating very fast, and now enriching about 30% faster than it has been enriching. And not only is the stockpile growing higher, but it's moving underground. Since last May, they have doubled the number of centrifuges which they have in the fortified underground facility at Qom. 2,100 centrifuges there. They are beyond our reach in terms of our capability. So the clock is moving at different paces and is structurally built in. No country has a greater stake in resolving the Iranian nuclear threat peacefully than the state of Israel. We're the ones with the skin in the game. I'm talking about my kids. All right? We have the interest, but we also have the responsibility. We also have the responsibility to defend ourselves, just as we did in 67 or 56 and 48. We have that responsibility, and we have to live up to that responsibility. And we are threatened with national annihilation by this bomb, and we have these kind of capabilities, hence the structural difference.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. My name is Stephen Stern. I'm from Annapolis, Maryland. Question I have is, I don't think, I'm surprised it's not getting as much press as I would have expected. what do you see, and this is a really open-ended question, what do you see as the future of the relationship between Israel and Egypt now that the change in leadership there, some of the outreach efforts that they've made within the Middle East, and where do you see this relationship going?
We hope, and we have reason to believe that they will maintain the peace treaty with us. And that peace treaty has been the cornerstone of Israeli security policy, also American Middle East security policy, of Egyptian policy of interest, not just for Israel, but for Egypt, to maintain that peace party. If Egypt is to get back on its feet economically, it's going to have to revive its tourism business, which means reviving the Red Sea resorts. To do that, you need peace with Israel. You can't have terrorists running around Sinai and firing missiles, not just at Israel, but firing at Jordan, or perhaps threatening the Suez Canal, which is another major source of income for Egypt. So it's an Egyptian national interest to do this. We know the Muslim Brotherhood. We know what the Muslim Brotherhood feels about a sovereign Jewish state in the heartland of the Middle East. We know that. But we also know that the Egyptian leadership is interested in surviving as a leadership and interested in getting Egypt back on its feet. And we have that reason to hope. Just recently, you should know, Egypt appointed a new ambassador. This is one of the first acts in foreign policy of this Egyptian government to appoint a new Egyptian ambassador. We saw that as a good sign. There was an incident several weeks ago where certain Egyptian military elements were going into Sinai, hadn't necessarily been cleared with us. We had concerns about it. The Egyptians took it out. So we have reasons for hope.
I wanted to ask a question about Israel and the continent of Africa. And I know, as somebody who worked for Dr. King, I was very happy that you went to Dr. King's and Miss King's gravesite. And I know John Lewis can make it. And I was the one who called Andrew Young when the date change happened, so he could be there with you. And I noticed that because he does a lot of work in Africa. And I know there was a time Israel did a lot of work in Africa. I'm wondering how much relations and aid Israel is giving to Africa, and how do you see Africa as being a player in the peace process? I know there's many problems within many states there, but as a continent, how does that fit in? And I hope you will call Andrew Young again and ask him for assistance, because I know he wants to get it to Israel.
Okay, thank you. It was a very memorable day, very moving. And later on, it was a source of great pride for me. I received the Dr. Martin Luther King International Affairs Award from that committee. It was a great day for me. We're back in Africa after a hiatus that began after the 1973 Yom Kippur War, where many African states severed relations with us. We're back in Africa. And we're back with state visits, we're back with humanitarian relief. We're involved in projects in countries like Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria. Noam Katz could probably speak a little bit better than that because he was an ambassador in Nigeria. I think you want to say something, Noam?
I can just add that we have massive investment today in Africa. It's different patterns than the patterns that were prevailed in the 50s and 60s. We have a very active private sector that is active in Africa in various states. We have PPP, people partnership between private and public sector in Africa. We have a massive program of collaboration on the field of health, rural development, education, women empowerment. We work hand in hand with the international organizations. It is much appreciated by the African states. I don't know to say whether Africa can play a real role in promoting peace agreement in the Middle East, but certainly there is a positive atmosphere towards Israel, and we cherish a lot of friendship, and we hope also to gain their support on the issues that are important to us when it comes to the UN arena and international.
Thank you, Noam.
We're going to limit it to these final two questions just so we can stay on schedule.
Mr. Ambassador, I'm going to ask you a question that you may not be able to answer, but I'm going to count on your diplomatic skills to answer the question. This is, it's a question that's, I think, troubling in many ways, and again, it relates to Iran. So the question is, what are the trigger points that will occur from the point of view of the State of Israel that would lead to an attack from Israel's point of view? And as I said, that I'm not sure you can answer that question. Also, from an Israeli point of view, what are the trigger points from the point of view of the U.S. that should result in an attack by the U.S. on Iran?
You're right. I can't answer that question. I will say the following. We've long said that as the Iranian nuclear program enters a zone of immunity, that is the point where the lion's share of that program moves into what we call inaccessible or redundant facilities, where we can no longer see what's going on and no longer reach what's going on, given our capabilities. That would be the point, really, of what you call red line, trigger line. That would be a very serious game changer for us. And we're not far from there. We've always said we have a small window, and the window's getting smaller. That much I can say. As the United States, I'm not a spokesman for the Obama administration. The Obama administration has said, repeatedly that it is committed to preventing Iran from acquiring or developing nuclear weapons. They say that all options are on the table, with the exception of one, and that is the option of containment. And they recognize our right to defend ourselves. And we believe that the Iranian nuclear program is reaching that critical juncture where in the future we may not be able to know or see or interdict.
Dennis Ernst, President of Neighborhood Latin America. Mr. Ambassador, I also don't know if you can answer the question, but I am forced to make it. What's your or Israel's opinion of Iran's penetration in Latin America nowadays?
We think it's serious. I think it's important. We've had, of course, evidence in Buenos Aires, very tragic evidence of that penetration. We believe that Iran, through Hezbollah, is involved in the drug trade. We know of close cooperation between Venezuela and Iran. And the evidence piles up daily. We think the Iranians are making a major effort to establish an operational base in South America, operational capabilities in South America. With that, great story here. Come and join us all. Look forward to see you back in Israel.
Thank you.
If you're all pleased,